And welcome back to this week's Who Would Win. So, it's the start of April, and as I said yesterday in the video that I think one person watched so far, and as I said a couple weeks back, that because of how many generations there are, because of how many ideas I had, every month leading up till I eventually run out of those suggestions will be one Espada versus Green Lantern character and one generation of the Pokemon Battle Royale starters. We are on Generation 4 right now. So, coming up to the plate, we have the 7'3", 683-pound world turtle, Torterra. So, among them, Torterra is more or less the physical tank of them, with a HP of 95, which is fairly high. In fact, it's the highest HP among any of them. Highest its physical attack at 109, highest physical defense at 105. Moderately okay special defense. It's actually got the second highest special defense at 83, and then the slowest speed at 56. He is a slow motherfucker. He is a tank for a reason. Now, having the grass and ground attributes, he's weak to fire, obviously. He has no overall special abilities that were mentioned in the Pokedex, but he's got the laundry list of abilities from Razor Leaf, which is a physical move. That's the thing. I had to actually look at what was physical, what was not, to compare them to each other. So, he can learn Crunch, Physical Attack, Mega Drain, and Giga Drain, Earthquake, Synthesis, Leaf Storm. Now, his biggest weakness, obviously, is his strength, because honestly, his stats overall are actually pretty solid. I mean, apart from his speed, his lowest stat is special attack. So he's got the lowest special attack among any of them. So if you really want to do damage with your Torterra, you use special attacks. But his speed and special attack are the lowest. But other than that, though, he's a pretty beefy Pokemon. But he's got the ×2 weakness to fire. And ice. But ice doesn't really come into effect here when counting for naturally learned moves. So... And flying, I should make that noted too, because there is one flying technique among any of these other two that they can use. So he has a ×4 against flying. So then we move on to Infernape. Now, Infernape is the smallest of all of them. He stands at 3'11" at only, what was the weight I got on him here? Wow, I really didn't write that. Well, 131 pounds, there it is. His HP is also the lowest among them at 76. Defense lowest 71. Special defense lowest 71. But then he completely blitzes them in the other categories where, well, no, not completely. He's got a 104 attack, which is pretty substantial. But not quite as much as Torterra's. But then his special attack comes out as a 104, and his speed is a 108. So essentially, he is a fast, hard hitter, but he can't he's a glass cannon, more or less. He can't take much abuse. And unfortunately, despite the fact that his special attack is the highest, he doesn't have a lot of special attack moves. He has Ember, he has, what's the other one? Fire Spin, and that is it. He has no other special attack-based moves. The rest of his attacks are physical-based, which, to be fair, yeah, his physical attack is still 104. Both of them are 104, so he's still got a massive physical attacking power, which he uses in conjunction with things like Mach Punch, which is basically the fighting equivalent of Quick Attack, Fury Swipes, Flame Wheel, Feint, Punishment, which is an interesting technique, which it varies based on stat changes. Close Combat, which is, again, it weakens his, lowers his defense when used, but it's the powerhouse attack. I love that. Just do. Love the way that looks in the anime. Acrobatics, which is the one technique I brought up for Torterra. Now it's, I'm trying to remember. It's stronger if it's when someone's not holding an item, in which case they're not holding an item in this, so it would be stronger than the 55 out of 100, more or less. But, he also has Calm Mind to raise his special attack and defense, and of course Flare Blitz, which is a physical attack, but burn and recoil, but again, massive amount of damage. So he's still a freaking powerhouse, a beef powerhouse, but he's a glass cannon at the same time. He's not a tank like Torterra is. And then we have Empoleon, which is a water steel type. Now, there was some knowledge on him. And I guess he can swim as fast as a jet ski, which means he's probably faster in the water than Infernape is outside of the water, but only in the water is he faster. And he can slice through, his wings are sharp enough to slice through giant blocks of ice. So probably like a small iceberg he can slice through pretty easily. But, let's look at his actual stat. Well, first, he stands at 5'07" at 186 pounds. So right off the bat, let's get this out of the way. Torterra is really the largest of these three, with Empoleon coming in as a moderate second, and Monferno being no bigger than, say, your 6-year-old. Actually, no, being no bigger than maybe your 8-year-old. So, its HP is 84, base HP, so it's got second highest in terms of that. Second highest, it's got the lowest pure physical attack, though, at 86. Its defense is also second at 88, so right now it's kind of just Its speed is only just slightly faster than Torterra, normally speaking. Its true... Plus, its true advantages come in special attack at 111 and special defense at 101. Now, in terms of special attack, Infernape does beat it in terms of its special attack, special defense, but its steel type, its water typing cancel out the weakness of fire. Now that being said, its special attack is actually the highest among any of their stats, but that's probably because all of his other stats are so tepidly low. Even though it basically ranks second in most of its stats, it's only outclassed really by Infernape in its normal attack, but outclassed by Torterra and its HP, attack, and defense. So it's an interesting scenario to put yourself in there. But then, because when I'm looking at their highest attack stats and the defense stats, I have to look at what is actually a special and physical attack, because that's going to matter in this fight. So in terms of his special attack, the only special attacks he actually knows are Bubble Beam, Whirlpool, and Hydro Pump. Which Hydro Pump, yeah, it's a massively effective attack, but still, it's not that impressive. It's impressive, but in terms of how many actual special abilities it has to work with, not the greatest in the world. But that being said, it knows Metal Claw, which can raise its attack, maybe. It knows Swagger, which can confuse an opponent but increase their attack, Fury attack, Bubble Beam, Whirl, Mist, Drill Peck, which is another flying-based attack, I believe, Hydro Pump, and Aqua Jet, which is the water version of Quick Attack. Now, before I begin, it should be noted on here that I had to look up their weaknesses to each other and what they know. And that while Infernape has acrobatic, I believe it is. Acrobatics. That's just one flying attack against Torterra, but it's still times 4. So if he gets on Torterra, that's going to hurt Torterra a lot and possibly even take him out for the count, depending on where we are in the fight. But if you actually look at their just normal times 2 weaknesses or just normal weaknesses they have against each other, Empoleon is weak to ground and fighting techniques, which both Monferno and Torterra have in spades. Seeing as Torterra can learn things like Earthquake, he also is capable of learning Leaf Storm, Synthesis, Mega Drain, all that. Infernape is weak to water and ground as well, because fighting and fighting has no real advantages or disadvantages against ground, but fire definitely does. So it has a time to weakness against that, and of course water. Torterra's different actually among them. If you take out that one attack with acrobatics of flying, he only has 1 times 2 weakness, and that's the fire on Infernape's side. The ground, it basically counteracts the fighting. Fighting doesn't mean anything. The steel counteracts the ground counteracts the steel, and the grass counteracts the water. So he only has 1 times 2 weakness against any of these guys. So he has, technically speaking, the fewer weaknesses among them. But still. So that's them. How does this fight really start? Well, this fight, if we got to place it on neutral ground to give them all the benefits of each other, you got to place it, think of it kind of like Canada. There's a nice water area, or maybe even some snow and ice, a mountain range, and there's a woodsy area. So we come down here, and Torterra's probably doing his thing, just, I'm getting a drink. And Napoleon just probably says, like, hey, you're in my way. And then Infernape just, for some reason, since it's combat, needs to come out on the ground. So the fight starts. And there's no way to say it. Infernape makes the first move. But he's probably going to go after the one he views as a bigger threat. And he probably views the one, or either that or a more worthy opponent. So first, he's probably going to try a Mach Punch on the one who's close to it, and I think he'd try a Mach Punch on Empoleon, because Empoleon has a weakness to fighting, but also has the water advantage. So he's going to just Mach Punch. That's going to come in, hit him, just boom, get the solid hit in. Empoleon counters on an Aqua Jet. Meanwhile, Torterra, being a World Turtle knockoff, says, better leave my tree on my back, kids. This is going to get bad real fast. And all the little Pidgeys and stuff fly out of him, and then he gets ready for combat. But because he's a grass type, and because he's more just kind of a guardian kind of guy, he's not going to immediately get into the combat. That would be a Torterra move, a more grass type move. Now, that being said, with Sceptile, that's different. I want to be clear, not every grass type is going to wait in the wings. Sceptile is a perfect example of this. Sceptile is much more of a warrior than, say, Torterra is. But Torterra, due to its size, won't be able to just get into the combat right away. So it's probably going to hang back for a little bit, see how this is going to play out. Meanwhile, Empoleon's probably going to be on the losing side of this fight, simply due to just the sheer speed and combat ability. Now, Infernape knows that he can't use many fire moves against Empoleon at the moment. But he also knows Empoleon has many water techniques, physical or otherwise, he can use. So he's probably going to try to end this fight quickly and use close combat on him. So close combat is just going to be just a boo and all that. But Empoleon, being near the water at the moment, will be able to dodge that out of the way and counteract with a Bubble Beam, hitting him probably backside. Now, Infernape's going to take a hit from that, but keep going. And then, out of nowhere, the Razor Leafs are going to start coming in. Just basically, you guys need to chill out. And then I think Infernape is going to be able to avoid the Razor Leaf there for that, get out of the way. Empoleon's going to take a massive hit from that. But because of the Steel type, it's going to be less effective than normal, so it's going to be more like D. So he's definitely going to feel the hit, but it's going to be So now they're going to see Torterra's in the fight. It's like, Torterra! And then Infernape. So now Infernape just comes in with a Flame Wheel just to charge in. He counteracts with He probably counteracts with an Earthquake, throwing him off balance. But because it's probably going to knock him more in the air, throwing him off balance, and Empoleon's going to start shaking a bit. So now Empoleon's going to be like, okay, now I got to deal with both these sons of bitches. So now he comes in, goes for a Metal Claw, and hits him with the Metal Claw more than likely, because he's only slightly faster than Torterra. Torterra's not going to be doing a lot of dodging in this one, folks, if he does any dodging at all. So he hits him flat on the face with a Metal Claw. But it's not going to do much due to the ground and higher defense. But then, I just want to be sure I get my listings right for attacks right. So instead, he sees, okay, but now I got you in close range. Now I'm going to do a Drill Peck right in your face. But Torterra is going to be like, no, you're not. I'm going to just start Mega Draining you just to get some of my HP back. That's going to weaken him just enough that the Drill Peck glance, it still hits him, but now has less power just because of the weakening of his constitution. But that's still going to hurt him. Tor! Then Infernape comes back down all of a sudden. Infernape is probably pissed at this point. He's probably taking a good beating as it is. He doesn't have the best constitution among any of them. So right now, and we got also take into the fact their growth, torrent, and blaze abilities. So at this point, I wouldn't say he's near Blaze ability yet, but he's close. So now he's coming back down, and he's going to unleash, what would he probably unleash at this point? He's probably honestly going to unleash something like along the lines of a Fire Spin, just engulf both of them. Torterra's going to be in pain, and Empoleon's probably going to be like annoyed by this, and then it's probably just going to clear it with a Bubble Beam or something along the... Actually, Bubble Beam wouldn't work because the bubbles would probably pop against the heat. So instead, he just douses the flames with probably something along the lines of, hello, puppy. Domino's here. Just don't get all growly and ruin my video, please. She's been very bratty lately. Yes, you have. You've been bratty lately. But anyway, he's going to use up a Hydro Pump just to extinguish the fire. At this point, and by the way, we got to take in weather conditions just for the fairness of this fight to give them optimal conditioning, because neither of these guys learn any sort of weather-altering moves. It's got to be a nice enough day out. So... at this point, Empoleon sees Infernape again. They go and clash again for a while. Though Infernape's going to still have the speed advantage, Empoleon's going to have a bit more of the durability advantage, despite the fighting disadvantage. So they're going to clash again, but Empoleon's still going to be on the losing side. But if he gets any more hits in, it's going to start really wearing down Infernape, which I think he would. I think he'd probably use a brine on him at that point, which would do double damage and bring him to his knees. But he would still be taking probably another close combat attack, and that would probably weaken Infernape as well. He'd be down. All the while, Torterra's being like, oh crap, that hurt. Fire spin. Oh. And at that point, he's going to use Synthesis to recharge himself. That's when Infernape just goes full on Blaze and says, you know what? Okay, you're both going down. Flare blitzes this shit out of Blaze and just basically blasts the whole area. Takes recoil damage, but is not down for a count. I don't think either of them are down for a count because of typing and because of just higher defense stats and probably still full. And because at that point, for near full health at that point for Torterra. Torterra takes a big beating on that one, though. There's no getting around that. So now Torterra is just, Torterra. And Empoleon's barely getting up. But now you got a recoiled, weakened. Even with Blaze, he's still weaker than he was because he's lost a lot of his abilities because of the close combat. He's lost a lot of his defense and special defense because of that. So now they're now huffing. All three of them are now tired. But the difference is that Empoleon will get back up to fight again for a little bit. And the thing about this entire fight is Infernape is going to be the most aggressive of them, with Empoleon coming in second. So Empoleon now just fires a Hydro Pump straight at him. I think Infernape does get out of the way, only to come face to face with a very pissed off Torterra. After using a combination probably of Synthesis and Curse to up his defense and attack and increase his health back up to at least somewhat optimal conditions. And then he just sees this pissed off Torterra just Leaf Storm in his face, just boom! And then that Infernape just boom! Down, unconscious, gone. So now it's just Empoleon and Torterra, and at that point it's just Torterra looks at Empoleon and just says, you really want to go again? I can recharge at least a couple more times, plus I can drain you with a Giga Drain. And Empoleon, not wanting to back down, is like, Empoleon. And I don't know what Empoleon actually sounds like in the anime. I'm just saying, Torterra would probably sound something like Venusaur, I imagine, because whatever. Torterra, Infernape, or whatever. So they're looking at each other, facing off. Now, that being said, Torterra's special attack is greatly decreased because of that Leaf Storm, but he's a much more heavily physical attacker, so he's getting ready for his attack. Empoleon's getting ready for an attack. He knows that most water attacks aren't going to work on him, so really, he's got a drill. The only thing he has on call is Drill Peck, but I think he would at least try to, now, because it doesn't really work the same way as it would in, say, the anime, I'm going to cheat a little bit with the Mist. The Mist, he would kind of like Zabuza say, the hidden mist, just shh, door. And then he hears the sound of the Drill Peck coming in, Drill Peck, and then boom, Earthquake, just boom, and then that just throws him off kilter, just going down. And at that point, because of the time 2 weakness to ground and Earthquake, which being one of the strongest ground attacks, Empoleon just goes down, knocked out. So I think the winner in this overall is Torterra for just having the diverse enough move set, the least amount of weaknesses, and the highest physical stats to take enough damage. Now, in a scenario where it's one of the other ones winning, which is entirely possible, I'd say Infernape would probably be the second most likely to win because of sheer speed and having moves that hurt both of them on both a physical and special defense level, and type advantage over both of them in many regards because of fire and fighting. So I would say Infernape comes the closest, but because he's a glass cannon more or less, if any of them get any solid hit in, he's not lasting long. That's why I put him that's why I think I gave it to Torterra more than Infernape. And Empoleon, Empoleon, there's no real logical way that Empoleon actually can beat Torterra when you actually look at the moves. Drill Peck is the only move he has that can actually hurt Torterra, and even then, it's not like what was the one that was like? It's not like Fissure, which is a one-hit KO move or anything like that. It's just it does damage. It does a decent amount of damage, but against Torterra's moveset, especially when you include things like healing, physical toughness, and Earthquake ground attacks. He can't stand up to Torterra. There's a reason the rock paper scissors thing exists. As for Infernape, he can defeat Infernape. That one I have no doubt about, just because of sheer power of water, like especially with Hydrovant versus his weak-ass defense. But yeah, if I were to give this percentage-wise, I think Torterra takes it 50% of the time. Infernape takes it about 40% of the time. And if for some reason he gets a strong enough drill peck off, I would say Empoleon takes it 10% of the time. So 50 to 40 to 10 in favor of Torterra, with Infernape coming in second. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. So I'm going to say I'm going to hold off on Magic this week. I'm not going to do a Magic video just because reasons. Because I didn't get to the pre-release. I can't go to the release event. And reasons. But I will at least do some sort of summary of it after I get some of the product of Shadows over Innistrad. And as for any other videos I have this week, the only one I can guarantee I have this week is review for Hardcore Henry tomorrow. And any other trailers that may pop up. I know Captain America Civil War spot popped up, but there's really nothing new to it, so there's nothing much to talk about. I know a trailer for BFG came out. I didn't know about that in time, and that would seem a little wasted to talk about it. But if any other decent trailers come out, like mainstream, like worth talking about, then yeah, I'll talk about them. I'll do a review. I kind of have been lax on doing movie news lately. Not because there isn't movie news, because for some reason I just haven't felt the need or urge to talk about it. So, yeah, that's just the way that's what played out. But thanks for watching. I hope Owen powers the box office on Sunday. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And see you next time, folks. Later.